get the party started. We have around 55 people here. I first want to thank everybody for attending our little Washington State of Biking webinar. And we will be kind of working from a sort of Cascade area to federal context to a state and local. We're getting some feedback saying that chat is disabled. Sorry about that. It's looking like we're going to be just using the Q&A function. And sorry, as the host, I'm kind of getting used to the sort of webinar functions and things like that rather than the Zoom meeting. So I'm going to kick us off saying this webinar is hosted by Cascade Bicycle Club and Washington Bikes. And first, I want to lead us into our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we sit on and occupy today as the traditional home of the Duwamish, Tulalip, Muckleshoot, and Suquamish tribal nations, and those nations if you're outside of the Pacific Northwest. Without them, we would not have access to this environment. We take the opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land who are still here. So as a webinar, as a kind of an advocacy organization and such, I wanted to kind of lay out some community norms. I wanted to state that we'll maintain a standard of conduct to ensure that all participants feel safe and respected. We believe every person has the right to be treated with dignity and respect, and to be free from all forms of harassment. Please be fully present in this session. Be self responsible and understand it might be challenging. Please listen, and process what we're presenting. And please suspend judgment of yourself and others, and use respectful language, especially in your questions towards each other and the panelists. Today, you're going to see several people pop off mute and show their video. I'm going to let them introduce themselves as the webinar goes, but here's a quick kind of introduction to our team presenting today. I'm going to be the MC, also presenting on Seattle specific items, and my name is Tyler Vasquez. I'm going to pass it on to our Executive Director, Lee Lambert.
Thanks, Tyler. And so, yeah, I just wanted to give a little state of Cascade and Washington Bikes. I'm loving seeing so many people on here, some familiar names and some names that I don't know. So just kind of orientate you to the organization and how we're doing. And so the first thing, and this may not be news to some of you, but it may be news to others. So Cascade and Washington Bikes are kind of partner organizations. Cascade is a 501c3, is our member organization and kind of member-based organization, and the larger of the two. As you may know, we do large paid rides. We do free group rides every day. We also do education, both adult education and youth education throughout the state. And we do our policy work. Washington Bikes is our 501c4 organization, and its primary role is to engage in political activities that a 501c3 is not able to engage in. So you'll see like Washington Bikes does endorsements when Cascade of candidates, when Cascade does not. Cascade as a 501c3 is allowed to make endorsements on ballot measures, but not candidates. Washington Bikes is the part of the organization that does our lobbying at the statewide level. Many of us on the call on the policy team wear multiple hats. We are both employees of Cascade and Washington Bikes. So just for those who didn't know, those two organizations are related and connected. In general, I am excited to say that as we started, we were still early in 2025, The healthy organization is both, from a morale, I think a reach and a financial place. We're in a good position. We are pretty much fully recovered from COVID. Still working out some of the bumps on things, but happy to say we can't use COVID as an excuse anymore for why we can't do something. And so that was a long, 3 years, and excited that we are kind of on to the next chapter. Just a little bit about our policy team and kind of the depth. We have 6 people who work a significant part of their job on the policy team. You'll hear from some of them today. So there's myself, our Deputy Director, Vicki Clark. We have Tyler, who focuses work in Seattle. Rachel Schaefer, who focuses her work kind of statewide outreach. David Urbana, who supports our Leafline Coalition work. And then we have a full-time lobbyist in Olympia as a contract lobbyist, and her name is Alex Alston. So we have a pretty deep crew when it comes to being able to do policy work. And it's almost backed up to where we were in 2019 levels. With that, I'm going to pass it on or back to Tyler to move us on. And I'll just check to make sure there's not any questions specifically about Cascade. Alrighty. Karen, it looks like you're up.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name's Karen Whitaker. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at the League of American Bicyclists here in Washington, D.C. So thanks to Cascade and Washington Bikes for hosting me for this. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about how federal funding affects Washington State. And there's 2 main buckets of funding. The first is formula funding, where when the federal government writes a transportation bill, that money then goes to Washington DOT. And right now, federal money makes up about 22% of the state DOT budget. That runs through a lot of programs such as transportation alternatives, safe routes, highway safety, and some others. In 2022, which was the first year of the new bipartisan infrastructure law, it was about $33 million that was spent on biking and walking. Next slide. The other 10% of federal funding comes out through grants where state governments, local governments, tribal governments can apply to US DOT. And so this isn't formula, it's not guaranteed, it's competitive, but then the US DOT, that administration has more flexibility and influence on what they give the funds for. And a lot of these funds are meant to do things that that formula funding doesn't do, either because a project crosses across jurisdictions, it's multimodal, or it's just a big project that's harder to do. And so the chart here shows some of those grants that Washington has received from 22 to 24. The Safe Streets for All program funds local governments to write safety plans, or then to do implementation projects of those priority projects. And 59 local governments got 62 grants over the last 3 years. The RAISE program is now called BUILD. Every administration changes the name, but it's to do those larger multimodal projects. So Washington, as a state, got 6 of those grants that are just biking and walking projects. 2 of them were for the DOT, 4 were to local governments. And then they got a bunch of multimodal or complete streets projects. So about 9 of those. And then finally, the Reconnecting Communities program is meant to undo damage that transportation projects may have done to communities in the past. So if they built a highway in the middle of the community, the idea is to reconnect it. And the state got 7 of those. Next slide. The majority of those funds are still, they've been awarded. The US DOT has said, hey, Washington State, you got this. Hey, Seattle, you get this grant. But they're not necessarily under contract. So that's 2 different sets. Once it's under contract, it's definitive and that money is going through. But a lot of those funds are not yet at that stage. And just 2 weeks ago, the USDOT released a memo saying, you know what, we don't want to fund bike infrastructure anymore. It's not one of our priorities. And we're going to look at the grants that we've already awarded, and we might pull those back. They're looking for opportunities to either just completely stop the project and not let that money go forward, or in other places where they may be able to take a complete streets project and remove the bicycle infrastructure out of it, or tell the local government you can only get this money if you take the bike infrastructure out of it. And so that is something that we're really working hard right now to push back on and say, no, you already told the local government they could do this. Maybe it's gone through a design phase, so it's going to cost more money to have to go back and redesign it. And just push back on that. This original push is on these discretionary grants, but we think this is the first step at going after other federal dollars meant to go to biking projects. Next slide. So one thing we're working on in the league is a petition to tell Secretary Duffy that bikes are transportation. It's not just recreation. It's not just a nice to have. It's important for safety and transportation. And then we'll use that petition to take to the Secretary, but also to use in Congress to say, hey, look at all the Americans that are standing up for biking infrastructure. Thanks.
Muted. Thanks, Karen. And it's great. We don't do federal advocacy at Cascade Bicycle Club and Wabikes, but given how much federal funding influences what is possible to be built in Washington State, it's great to have a partnership with the league where we can kind of better understand what is happening at the federal level and where we can sort of weigh in and support without having to be experts. And so it was important for us to get Karen here for you all today for you to hear, and given like just the big shift at the federal level around pulling back all this funding, I wanted to give everyone a window into that. Hey everyone, I'm Vicky. I am the Deputy Director at Cascade. Lee already said that. And my job today is to talk to you about our legislative work that we do down in Olympia, which has a statewide impact. As Lee said, we do that work under the name Washington Bikes because it's policy and funding at the state level in Olympia has ripples for every community across the state. And so next slide. We are in the middle of the legislative session this year. Right now. This year is a long session, which means it's not over until April 30th, until the legislature comes to agreement on the next biennial budget. We have long sessions when it's a budget year, and this is a budget year. The budgets I'll get into in a second. I love this picture. We do a lobby day every year in Olympia to connect people who bike or want to with their legislators who represent them, so that folks in the legislature really know why biking matters to their constituents and what is at stake in the policies and funding that they pass. And so we did a great lobby day earlier last month, mid-February, and it was our first time back in person since 2020. We snuck in and had an in-person lobby day before the pandemic happened. And it was really great to be back in person with people. We had folks from around the state, including Yakima. I feel like I know some of these people. Yakima, Whidbey, Island. I don't think we had anyone from Spokane, but that is a goal for next year. And it was really great to just have all those people there and be building community as well as building a shared understanding of why biking matters at the state level. Next slide. So I really briefly wanted to talk about our legislative agenda for this year, and initially kind of start out with some context. So it's a budget year. It's a really rough budget year at the state, whether you're talking about the operating budget, the capital budget, or the transportation budget. There's 3 separate budgets. For our priorities, we're really focused on the transportation budget, but it could be said of all the budgets that they're experiencing just vastly increased expenses and less revenue. I can't think of a better way to say that in this moment. And so with the transportation budget in particular, the cost of projects has increased dramatically over the last few years, and the state's obligations around building retrofitting the culverts that we have all across the state for salmon recovery have really made it so that the expenses have gone up, coupled with the long time trend of declining gas tax revenue means that the expense line is growing while the revenue line is going down. And so really key to us this year has been and it's been our top priority, has been educating the legislature, of whom many are new this year. We had a huge turnover in the legislature this last election cycle. So really educating our legislators on how bike and pedestrian funding happens at the state level and what it means for communities on the ground. And so there are several WSDOT funded programs that enable local governments to fund their priorities, and they're listed here on the screen. So the Safe Routes to School program has been a long time program. The Bike Ped Grant program is, again, another WSDOT program. It's more flexible, but it's really about building bike and pedestrian infrastructure across the state. The Sandy Williams Connecting Communities Grant Program is a newer grant program, really focused on WSDOT partnering with specific communities, historically overburdened communities, and building infrastructure, building active transportation infrastructure that seeks to undo past harms done by building highways through population centers. And then the other one is the Bike Education Program, which is a program that is actually implemented by Cascade Bicycle Club, but was championed by the legislature a couple of years ago to make it so that to make it so that kids across the state can understand the joys of bicycling and become adults who bicycle. And so that's been our number 1 priority. We also have, and that's really going to be advanced through the budget. I will talk about the budget in a second. We also had a bill that would build out trail gaps faster. So we advanced this bill last year. It was pretty broad in scope and would have had some really cool statewide impact. But after some feedback, we narrowed the bill this year to really focus on stopping the abuse of environmental regulation like SEPA to stop projects like the Missing Link in Seattle, the Berg-Gilman Missing Link, that is. And so that bill made it through the House and had a hearing in the Senate last week. Thanks to potentially many people on this call, we had a real outpouring of people responding to our action alert asking to sign in pro on this bill, and had over 1,000 people who signed in pro for the bill within a 48-hour period, which was just really cool to see. And I want to thank anyone who took that action. It really helps us in doing that work. And then our third priority has really been just naming that there continues to be a transportation safety crisis, and that the legislature really has to take action, and pushing for action that is infrastructure based and not just punitive based. So I'm going to go back to the budget. I've been talking a lot. The budgets were released yesterday. Not yesterday. What day is it? They were released on Monday, and the House budget retained all of the funding levels that we wanted to see for these 4 grant programs on the screen. And the Senate budget was much more complicated in that there were two different budgets, like a base budget and then a budget of what will be possible with new revenue. I think that, you know, the Senate budget still looked pretty good. I think one concern on the Senate side is an e-bike sales tax, and we've been working to advocate for that sales tax to be thought of in a much more nuanced way, and really make it so that it doesn't impede people being able to buy e-bikes that are that have batteries that are like regulated. End of sentence. Regulated. It's a known thing that some e-bike batteries will just like explode and cause fires. And so, is there a way to limit the sale of those dangerous types of batteries while not putting the onus of taxing a policy item that we actually, as a society, want to incentivize? Like, we want to incentivize people biking because it's better for the environment, because it's more cost efficient, et cetera, et cetera. And so really trying to work to peel back that e-bike tax, because it doesn't on its face seem like a great idea. I think I'm going to stop there. The end of what I was going to say. And I want to invite you all to put questions in the chat for me. And then I believe our next speaker is David. You can go to the next slide.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Urbina. Cascade Bicycle Club provides project management for the Leafline Trails Coalition. I'm the project manager for that coalition. You may ask, what is the Leafline Trails Coalition? Well, it's a coalition of many different people from different sectors, including nonprofit organizations, governments, agencies, departments, jurisdictional partners, community members, advocates, businesses, and elected officials who all share a common interest in trail development. Next slide, please. So imagine riding your bike from downtown Tacoma to Mount Rainier, from Seattle to the North Cascades, or all the way across the Kitsap Peninsula, or hopping on a bike in Monroe and biking all the way to the Edmonds Ferry or the Mukilteo Ferry, or biking all the way from Arlington to Renton on one continuous trail that serves local communities along the way. These are visions that the coalition really wants to make a reality, and the work that we do is centered around regional trail development, regional connectivity, and making sure that there is one continuous network that overlays the rest of our transit networks that is specifically for those that choose to use active transportation to get around. Next slide, please. So our scope, our geographic scope mirrors that of PSRC, our local MPO. We focus in Kitsap County, Pierce County, King County, and Snohomish County. And we have a grand vision of 900 miles of interconnected trail network. That is based on existing and planned trails that are currently under development. And at this point, we are about 56% complete in terms of that grand vision. There's still a lot of work to do, but on the other hand, and it's important to note that we do live in an area that has invested a lot in regional trail development. We're relatively lucky to have such a great network, but we have a vision of a much more complete network. And so that's what the Leafline Trails Coalition is working to do, is working with jurisdictional partners and advocates, bringing people together to have a broad collective impact to make sure that we are focusing our trail development and our resources and our efforts in a way to make that vision happen. Next slide, please. So as you all probably all know, there are many benefits of trails. They are active transportation corridors. They spur economic development in communities that they pass through. They create healthy, active communities. They promote environmental sustainability and help jurisdictions meet their sustainability and environmental goals. They promote outdoor recreation. They are spaces where kids can learn how to ride a bike for the first time, where older adults can go out and walk and be outside together without fear of vehicular traffic. They foster community connection, and they are quite literally linear parks that connect our communities. There are probably many more benefits of trails, and I would love to hear if you have other thoughts on ways that trails are beneficial to you in particular, but these are some of the main talking points that we talk about when we come to different communities, when we talk with decision makers, elected officials about the importance of trail development in their area. Next slide, please. So our work, we have 4 quarterly meetings that we invite anybody from the community to attend, no matter if you're an advocate or a jurisdictional partner, or if you work for a government agency, we invite you to attend. We bring presenters in that talk about a number of different issues related to trail development. We send out a monthly newsletter. We have a few smaller working groups that focus on advocacy efforts and a peer-to-peer network for our jurisdictional partners. We have a public-facing map vision that is accessible to the public so that you can see how your local trail connects to the broader regional trail network. We provide letters of support to our jurisdictional partners so that they, whenever they are looking for funding, so we'll show that we support their trail development initiatives. We hold trail activations every year where we highlight gaps within the network that need to be addressed, or recent successes that have happened within our network that we would like to highlight. And so we do bike rides, walking tours, and we invite community members to come to those as well. And we share technical assistance and resources between different jurisdictions. Really, the biggest benefit of our coalition is that we're a conduit of information and resources that people can tap into. And it's a place where an advocate can rub elbows with a WSDOT employee or a city council member from a jurisdiction, from Kitsap County and Pierce County, from different geographic regions. It's kind of a unique place where people can learn and share resources and information. Next slide, please. So there's a number of ways that you can connect. I encourage you to please pledge your support for the coalition, to attend one of our quarterly membership meetings, to come to one of our trail activations. We usually highlight those in our newsletter, as well as in Cascade channels of communication and on social media for Cascade Bicycle Club. Join one of our working groups if you're an advocate or if you represent an advocacy organization. We would love to have you participate in our advocacy working group. Subscribe to our newsletter, tag us on Instagram, or if you're doing anything special for Celebrate Trails Day or National Trails Day, which are both coming up, please share those plans with us and send us fun trail images from whenever you're out enjoying your local favorite trail or trail network. And if you have any additional questions on anything that I just presented on, please feel free to email me at info@leafline.com, and I'd be happy to follow up with you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So the way that we're assembled this whole webinar and was go broad with federal context, go to state, go to trails, and now I'm presenting on Seattle specific items and policies for the bicycle safety program. So first I wanted to reference that Cascade Bicycle Club envisions Seattle as a city where bicycling is safe, comfortable, and convenient for everyone, regardless of age, ability, race, or zip code. So that's sort of my Northern Star, and that's sort of how I'm able to work with others, work with the community, work with city council, and work with the mayor's office and SDOT. So in 2024, Cascade Bicycle Club and myself and other advocacy organizations worked to kind of develop with the community and SDOT and the mayor's office a large transportation levy. We were happy to see that it was approved by voters, and the bicycle safety program was funded, and now we have $133.5 million over the next 8 years for bicycle safety programs. So what does that look like? There is going to be deliverables of bicycle lanes, bicycle lane maintenance throughout the next 4 or 5 years. That's where they have the basically the projects planned out. But you'll see in 2025, this is a kind of cool little graphic that I made. There's going to be several large protected bike lanes that will be delivered. So I'm going to go back one slide and say that we're getting excited for these specific bike lanes. So right here in 2025, the city of Seattle is going to see the downtown to Georgetown project be delivered. Last month, we delivered the Seattle waterfront. I saw Hanak here. Best Side Cycling did a great video on the waterfront. We have Georgetown to South Park. That is a South Seattle connection. We have the 15th Avenue South Beacon Hill connection. And then we have the Georgetown, I referenced that earlier, but Georgetown to downtown. That's one that's exciting for us because we were able to see this being built near Airport Way. And it's exciting to see the delivery of all these protected bicycle lanes, of which were advocated over the last 4+ years. Also, within the bicycle safety program, you'll see that I have little bits of bicycle lane maintenance. So within the Keep Seattle Moving levy, there is a bicycle lane maintenance bucket of money that's going to be investment over the next 8 years. So while the delivery of protected bike lanes in your community won't be kind of grandiose, there are a large amount of spending that's going to happen. There's also going to be bicycle lane maintenance that's sprinkled in throughout the up and coming years. So since there is several different components of a capital project such as design and construction and community engagement, it takes time for those to be delivered. So the time for the bicycle safety program and investment in the bicycle network, you'll see there's a sweeper that the city of Seattle is planning different routes to be able to make sure the bicycle lanes are clean, specifically in the fall and spring when there's a large amount of debris in the bicycle lanes. Additionally, the picture on the right of this slide is a scene is they're going to retrofit and go back and harden bike lanes. So there's going to be bike lanes that are already built. The right-of-way is already taken for the bike lanes, but they're paint and post. They're going to go back and deliver concrete barriers. There's several different components, but this specific bike lane was paint and post as of earlier or late last year. And this is 4th Avenue through downtown, and now it is concrete curb. And with that, we are 35 minutes into our 40-minute webinar. So I'm going to ask our panelists to come off video, and we could have a quick Q&A. So if you have questions and such, please put them in the Q&A. We were aggregating some questions in the background, so wanted to call you to ask questions.
There's a question in the question about WashDOT's bike ped safety grant program and how much money is in the budget for it. And I was just looking that up. It's a two-part question. So both the House and the Senate budgets have $81 million for that program. Part two, I'll have to follow up with you. I think it's Phil. Because part two was what was in the WashDOT request. I believe it was the same amount, but I'm not 100% sure. But thanks for the question, Phil. Here you go, I can take another one. Update on the WashDOT e-bike instant rebate program. So WashDOT has been working on this program for a year or two. And they do have a vendor that they're working with, that they secured that at the beginning of this year. And so my understanding is that those e-bike rebates are going to be rolling out later this year. And both the House and the Senate budgets included funding to continue the rebate program.
Vicky, I'll just keep throwing a few your way because there's a lot of questions coming through the chat, through the box right now. Can we get a little more detail from you on in the newly proposed budget at the state level? I think it's what's happening with the CCA dollars.
Sure. So bike ped infrastructure at the state level, the transportation budget is funded two ways. There's the multimodal account. I honestly couldn't tell you where that money comes from, but it goes into the multimodal account, and that until the CCA was passed a couple of years ago, that was really the one source of revenue for non-car stuff. And so now with the CCA makes up about 2/3 of the bike ped revenue, with the multimodal account making up 1/3. I think your question is about whether that CCA money is getting redirected in the budget. It is not. So the CCA money is going to continue, the Climate Commitment Act funding is going to continue to fund the bike ped transit stuff that it has been funding for the last couple of years. There was initially some conversation at the beginning of the session, some bills that died that would have redirected that money. And ultimately, this, I think, in addition to raising revenue, those revenue generating ideas that the Senate has put out, another way that they've balanced the budget is by pushing out some of the transportation mega projects, the highway projects, into further years, delaying them basically. And then the flip side of that is that they're also proposing delaying some of the active transportation projects as well, which I think is causing problems for local jurisdictions, because those that were going to be funded like in the next couple of years had lined up that money to be match for other funding. I know that's definitely the case in Bellevue, and I think other places, and I think in Redmond too, and probably other places. I'm going to pass to someone else. I think there's a question for Karen in here, right, about the petition.
I think I answered it. We're just keeping it open right now.
Okay.
But please feel free to share it. We want to get a large number of signatures moving forward.
Vicky,
And I can rapid fire on a couple more of the questions if that's helpful, or we can follow up after this.
I'm going to plug that we follow up after this. It's 12:40. I want to be understanding of everybody's time and first thank everybody for showing up. I think we had over 99 people participate and show up to the webinar. Wanted to note that the slide deck will be available. We'll send it out with more information. Also, we will be kind of trying to include you all in our action alerts, what's going on, and working throughout the 2025 year. There's big things to come for Cascade. Bike Everywhere Month is May. So we are going to celebrate people on bikes throughout state of Washington. So there's going to be more information. Look for our rides, Cascade Bicycle Club. We ride from Seattle to Portland and from Seattle to Vancouver. There's a large amount of ways to get involved. One of the unsung heroes, two unsung heroes today. I want to give shout out Rachel Schaefer and also Zach Cravey. They were behind the scenes helping us answer questions. Zach is our volunteer coordinator, a manager. So you'll see all of his work throughout all of our rides and all the things we do Cascade. So thank you, Karen. Thank you, Vicky, David, Rachel, Zach. It's much appreciated to bring some of the work to the community, and also plug the community. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being there, and thank you for being there for Cascade and people on bike who bike or want to. We'll see you out in your local protected bike lane. Thank you.